Alright guys, Papa Pepper here today. Just wanted to talk to you about sunchokes and really eating them and using them. This is actually my first year growing them in the garden. We only planted them 6 or 7 months ago, but we got an incredible return on our investment, somewhere between probably 10 and 15 times the amount that we planted. And a lot of times people will wind up with a sunchoke tuber or a Jerusalem artichoke tuber. They'll plant it and they'll get the harvest and they'll be like, okay, now what? Now honestly, I've only eaten these maybe twice before in my life. Mama Pepper less until last night. I think she got her introduction to them. So they're going to be incorporated into our diet and into our food supply. But how do you really do that? And how do you kind of meet and greet a new food? So I'm just going to show you a couple things that I do, and just to kind of evaluate where they are on my palate, how they fit into our diet and that type of stuff. And then also, depending on if you cook them or how much you cook them, I think on the less of it, if you're eating them raw or if you're not cooking them very much, they're also known as fartichokes because they can cause gas. So that's one thing to think of, but I mean, people do eat the magical fruit beans too, right? And those are also known for similar things. So Jerusalem Artichoke, aka Sunchoke, member of the sunflower family, a tuber you dig up under the ground. It's actually part of the root structure of the plant. And one thing is that you can eat them raw. So the first thing I did is I took some, one of my daughters washed these off for me, but just to sample them raw and just to kind of introduce them to kind of see what they taste like and how they are. So if I had to, people, you can use them like you would when you're cooking like potatoes, but if you're eating them raw, they kind of taste like more like a carrot to me. And kind of like maybe if you cross like a carrot with a nut. And it does kind of have that crunch, which you can probably hear, of a carrot. Though you can use them raw, and I mean, even if you're kind of planning for the future, and if you're realizing, hey, things are getting pretty bad, eventually one day food may hyperinflate, you might suffer from hyperinflation where our money's worth a little bit and the food's very costing a lot, or maybe a lot of things get shut down and you don't have easy access someday to the grocery store, or maybe the mark of the beast shows up and you don't want the mark of the beast, but you can't buy or sell without a chip in your forehead or in your hand, and you're like, if I plant some of these now, they can live there for years, maybe decades, and that way if I really need some food later, there they'll be. So if you just dig them up straight out of the ground, rinse them off and eat them, quick and easy way to do it. If you've got more time, you can cook them. So to start off with cooking for me, I want to know what they taste like, cooked, and then kind of how to incorporate them in different dishes. So what I did is I simply fried some up in a pan. You can see I got some that are chopped more over here, and then some that are just big slices. So the chopped stuff is going to be more like American fries, like diced up potatoes. They've actually got kind of a hash brownie type flavor to them. So pretty good. And the slices, I just actually sliced them and then kind of browned them on each side, cooked them through. Now the flavor of these, and all I did was I sauteed them in a little butter. That's all I did. Put a little butter, chopped them up, and then just started, cooking them in the pan. You could also use oil, but to me, when they're cooked, like I said, the raw ones, most reminiscent of carrots. These ones here, once they're cooked, they really remind me of hash browns in a lot of ways. And actually, like, this has no seasoning. I didn't put any salt, any pepper, anything on it because I wanted just to see, okay, if I cook this in butter, what's it actually just taste like on its own? And that gives me just a good baseline reading of the actual food, the actual plant. Now, if I had a whole bunch of this chopped up like this, and seriously, like if I took some ground beef or ground venison and some of these and some cheese and just kind of cook that all together, that would be so good. Just cook it with the meat and top with cheese or add some onions to it or something like that. Absolutely great. Or, if I made up a bunch of this and then just put scrambled eggs on top of it, started cracking my eggs in the same pan, made them with it. I think it'd be excellent. So these guys here, they are very prolific. You're going to get a lot when you plant them. And to me, I mean, this is like my first real introduction to them. I just had a sampling like this maybe 2 years ago where I nibbled a little bit of one raw, cooked up a little bit like this, and went, okay, yeah, that seems kind of good. And took me about another year to actually get a couple tubers to plant. I think I just had one at the time and just tried it to introduce myself to the plant. And then now we should have enough to never need to buy any again, to have them grow on our property for years to come. Actually, behind me is a big, massive raised bed I recently built with my children to plant full of these, but I'll let the kids try some of these too, but these are absolutely excellent in my mind. And like I said, now that I kind of have an understanding of, okay, here's what they are raw, here's what they are cooked, you can also use them in soups or stews or things like that. Now I know kind of how to incorporate them into a breakfast meal, into, you know, you can make a nice, like if you had a meaty burrito, a meat and potato burrito, you could substitute sunchokes for that. Cook up the sunchokes in the meat, put them in the burrito, you know, add in some beans, add in some cheese, stuff like that. Or, you know, in a stir fry as well. Very tasty. So there's my pan, just trying it out. So if you're not familiar with them, if you don't know what to do with them, I'll get a video up shortly too about how I'm storing them, and we'll see how it works. But I think it's the best way for me at the moment to actually store them. But if you've got some of these, and I've had some comments as I've made these videos about sunchokes where people are like, hey, what do you do with them? How do you use them? This is where I would start. Seriously, wash one off, nibble on it. Be like, okay, how's that fit in? Is that something you would do or not? Saute up a little bit in some butter or oil or whatever you like to cook in, and just see how that tastes for you. And then try to start mixing in stuff. Like I said, I didn't even season any of this yet because I wanted just a good baseline rating of here is kind of pretty much the plant, and then we can go from there. So hope this helps. Experiment, have fun, get used to things now, and that way if you've got them growing and you've got them on your property, they're always going to be there for years to come to help you and be there if you really need them. And you may have a pallet for them by then too, which would be good. All right, pop out. As always, I'm Papa Pepper, and I'd like to remind you, don't post for free. If you'd like to be part of a revolution in social media, an economic power to the people where users can actually blog for cryptocurrency, then I'd recommend that you check out steemit.com and join the revolution. Papa out.